What is up, movie lovers? Back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to do 4 short movie reviews. I'm going to go over some movies that I've watched in the last day or two. Nothing serious. But let's just get the ugly out of the way first. Let's just get all the negativity done and out the door, and then we can move on to bigger and better things here in a few minutes. But right off the bat, Highlander, the director's cut on DVD. The fact that they put that this is a deluxe collector's edition is an insult to collectors worldwide. And it's not that this is a bad movie. It's okay. I'd say it's middle of the road. It's the fact that this DVD is just absolutely unwatchable. The quality of this thing is terrible. You know how I said that there's DVDs that look good and then there's ones that don't look so good? This is one that is at the absolute bottom of the barrel. From a 1 to 10, I would give this a 1. This is one of the worst DVDs I've ever seen, and I've got about 10,000 in my collection. And this one almost takes the cake. This probably does take the cake as the worst quality I've ever seen with a DVD. I mean, like I said, it was unwatchable. I couldn't even get 10 minutes into this thing, and I had to turn it off. It's one of those DVDs that has the letterbox on the top, bottom, and on the sides. So within your widescreen TV, you get this little widescreen picture that's all small, that's in the middle, with just black all around. And it's not only that, but the picture that you are getting, it's like 120p or something. It looks like somebody did a tape of a tape of a tape of a tape. It's so grainy. It is terrible. I can't believe a studio would put something like this out. It's like they didn't try to remaster this at all. It is atrocious. So, I mean, I'm glad I only spent $1 for this. However, if I could get my $1 back, I would. I'd give this back and get my dollar back. And I'm not even going to watch part 2. Part 2 is the same thing. It's got the same kind of packaging. I'm sure the picture looks the same too. So, if I ever want to watch Highlander again, I'm just going to have to buy the Blu-ray, which I almost did just a few minutes ago. I almost pulled the trigger on it. We're going to get into that in a future video. But let's just move on. Let's get into some Blu-rays now. And with these Blu-rays, the quality is not going to be an issue. These all have spectacular quality, so we won't even be talking about that. We're just going to be talking about the movies themselves. But first on the list of Blu-rays here is Nightbreed, the director's cut. And I was thoroughly disappointed with this. You may remember, probably not, because only like 8 people watch my videos, and that's okay. But you may remember in a previous video I was talking about I was wanting to see this again. I had not seen this since I was a teenager, probably in the 90s at some point. And I remember back then I thought it was okay. I thought it was kind of cool, but I really didn't remember it. So I wanted to watch it again, and my burned copy didn't work for some reason. Like I said, I don't know if it's got DVD rot. I don't know if it was just a bad copy when it came out. But it didn't work, and I've been wanting to see this. So I went ahead and I spent like $15, bought this off Amazon because I thought it looked cool. And that's about all. It looks cool on the cover, but this movie itself is pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. It's just not good. It feels like you're watching a made-for-TV movie or something. And the characters in it are just, they're all just below average, in my opinion. I mean, it's supposed to be this story about all these monsters and everything, and the monsters are actually the good guys. That's kind of the theme of the movie, is the monsters are the good guys. It's just the design of the monsters is so amateur. I mean, you got the one guy with the pointy forehead and the pointy chin. He looks like the guy from Mac and Me, from the McDonald's commercials, the Mr. Moon with the, like, it's so another one of the monsters, his whole monster persona is just him without a shirt on. He's got like the Godsmack logos tattooed around his nipples. You know, the little flaming sun, stupid looking things. He's got like those tattoos around his nipples. It's like, what were they thinking when they designed these characters? The only cool looking monster of all of them is the guy with the red face. And he has like the dreadlocks that are like growing out of the side of his face. He's got like the dreadlocky things coming down. He's the one that he bit the main character. That guy, he's the only one that looks cool. The main leader of the monsters is stupid. He looks like Gandalf with like 3 razor blade cuts on his face. It's like, I'm not kidding. When the girl was down there walking around Midian, which is where all the monsters hang out, when she's walking around there seeing all the different monsters, that's what I feel like when I go into Old Town Fort Collins. People are so weird down there. That's what I feel like when I'm walking around. It's like, my God, look at this group of freaks. How are you supposed to like these people? They're just a bunch of freaking oddballs and just weirdos. The one guy with the snakes that grows out of his stomach, he looks like one of the manifestations of Beetlejuice or something when he's trying to scare off the Deetses. It's so bad. And then the guy that cuts his face off, well, he actually leaves his face, but he cuts like the rest of his head off. Looks like the guy's wearing a rubber mask the whole time. It's just the worst acting. I mean, Craig Sheffer is okay. The girl that plays his girlfriend, God, she is atrocious. If I was Craig Sheffer, I'd be like, what do I have to do to get rid of this girl? She is way too needy and clingy. I came here and I did all this for you, and you need to make me a monster now? And he's like, oh God, just go away. She's like, no, you fine, you go away. Just leave. Like, she doesn't get her way, so she starts getting all pissy and stuff. So he starts walking away. Okay, I'll walk away. And then she goes and tries to like kill herself so she can become a monster too. It's like, don't you have a life? You can't accept the fact that he's a monster now and he's not going to be with you. You have to now make yourself a monster too. My God, it's just, this movie was not good. Yeah, I probably won't be watching this again for another 30 plus years, if that. So it's basically just going to take up space in my Blu-ray collection from here on out. Like I said, I wanted to like it. I wanted to think it was a cool movie. It just wasn't. Like, my favorite character in this whole movie is the bad guy. The psychologist guy who puts that cool looking mask on and kills people. Like, he was the best part of the whole movie, in my opinion. The monsters were goofy as hell. Goofy as hell. And this is another Scream Factory / Shout Factory Blu-ray release. And as far as I'm concerned, those people are 0-2. They did that Savage Hunt movie about the bear. That was terrible. This isn't that great. And I don't like the way that they put this like super long documentary at the beginning of the movie. Like, you go to play the movie and it just goes into this documentary about how they collected all the footage for the director's cut and stuff. Who cares? Put that as a bonus feature on the menu. Don't make it so you have to watch that in order to get to the movie, which is so stupid. It's like you got to fast forward through that. It's dumb. So yeah, I was unfortunately thoroughly disappointed with this. But let's move on. Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. I was expecting this to be about as bad as Nightbreed was. However, this pleasantly surprised me. I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't near as bad as what I thought it was going to be. It was kind of what I thought I was going to get. However, it just seemed to exceed my expectations. It seems like it's a movie for kids. But it was okay. It was okay. Some of the actors in this were really good. Like, I like the kid that played Percy Jackson. I like the whole crew, actually. The kid that played the Cyclops, he was good. The black guy with the horns that had the, I don't know, horse legs or whatever, he was good. They were all good. Even the annoying chick that was like the daughter of the goddess or god of war or whoever, who just thought she was so much better than everybody. I mean, I get her character was to be a bitch, but she played it well. So yeah, this wasn't half bad. I mean, yeah, the CGI was goofy. It was pretty corny at times. But I liked the atmosphere of the movie. I thought it was kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't have a lot bad to say about that. I wouldn't even mind seeing the other Percy Jackson movie. There's another one out. The Lightning Thief, which was actually the first movie. This was the second movie. And I could tell this was the second movie because they had made references to like a previous story that had taken place. Like, so, but I haven't seen that one either. So yeah, if that ever comes around for a couple bucks, I'll probably get that just so I can complete my collection and see it. But yeah, It kind of reminded me of like a Harry Potter type movie, but better. I don't know. I didn't like the Harry Potter movies. I know, shame on me, shame. But I only saw one of those, and it was so bad. It was so bad. I don't know. This was better. This was better than something like The Hobbit. I remember being so excited to go see The Hobbit when it came out because I loved the Lord of the Rings movies. And I remember that was one of the most disappointed I had ever been in the movie theater. I hated it so much. I was like, is this made for 3-year-olds? This is totally ridiculous. The only part of that movie that I actually enjoyed was near the end when that little dwarf king guy or whatever thought he'd be a man and go take on that big, I don't know, what big cat monster thing or whatever. And he runs up, no, 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 and they're playing all the heroic music. Dun, 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 and then that cat thing just knocks the shit out of him. I was like, yes, yes. I was like, I love that so much. So yeah. But let's just move on to the final movie here. I watched this morning. I had no idea what it was about. I didn't know anything about this movie other than it had Brad Pitt in it. And I like Brad Pitt, so I thought I'd give it a chance. Moneyball. And I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great. Excellent acting. Just a great story. I was totally into this. I did not want it to be over. You know, it's about this GM, and he's working for the A's, and they didn't have a lot of money. If you know anything about Major League Baseball, you'll know that some teams, like the New York Yankees, basically have unlimited funds. They can spend, you know, over $100 million on their payroll. Whereas other teams, I know this firsthand because I lived in Kansas City, and this was true with the Kansas City Royals. We could not spend that kind of money for our players. We had to think of other ways to win. And that's the situation that this general manager that Brad Pitt plays, his name was Billy Beane. And he had to think of ways to win without breaking the bank because the team just didn't have that kind of money. They had like a fourth of the money to spend that a team like, you know, the Yankees had. So he hires Jonah Hill as his assistant GM because this guy's like really good at breaking down numbers and statistics and stuff like that. And so together they build this team up of people you wouldn't think, you know, could do the job. But they looked strictly at the numbers, the statistics and stuff like that. And they were able to put together a pretty good team. And it's just the whole story about that, about them building the team, signing players, making trades, stuff like that. It was really good. Like I said, I was really into it. The dialogue is excellent. And I really liked Brad Pitt's character. He plays this ex-baseball player who I guess when he was younger, he was like the hot shit. You know, all the scouts were coming to his house, trying to get him to come play for their team and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, it shows flashbacks of him as a young player. And he's often, you know, it shows him sitting in the chair just like thinking about back when he was young and back when he was getting signed to teams and stuff like that. And he had the decision to make on if he's going to, you know, take this scholarship, go to college, or sign with one of these major league teams and try and make it in the majors. And it just so happens my dad was a football referee, and on his crew, the main referee, the white hat of the crew, the guy's name was Jim Knight. And I mean, just a real smart guy, but he had the same choice to make when he was young because he was a really good athlete. He could run really fast. And he had, you know, a major league ball club wanting to sign him. It was either that or go to college. And he chose to go to college. And my dad must have told me the story 50 times growing up. He's like, yeah, Jimmy could have went and, you know, tried to make it in Major League Baseball or go to college. And he made the right decision. He went to college. And I just remember thinking, especially as I got older, no, he did not make the right decision. He made the wrong decision. Yeah, I know. He went and got his college degree. He ended up being an engineer. He ended up making a lot of money. I mean, GM bought him out and he was like 50 years old and decided to keep paying him like $100,000 a year to not even work there anymore. Like, what the heck? Like, who gets that kind of a deal? He pulled that off somehow where it's like they agreed to pay him a lifelong salary to retire. Like, how does that make the company any money? I don't understand. But anyways, I'm saying, you know, he didn't necessarily make the wrong choice because his life ended up being, you know, real nice. Guy drove around in a Corvette, had a lot of money. He could do whatever he wanted to do. However, though, The way I thought about it was like, dude, you missed your opportunity to be great, to play in the majors, to be a professional baseball player. You could always have went back to college later. I think you should have went for the baseball career. That's just me though. Like, you only got one life to live. Take the shot. Take the shot. And that's what Brad Pitt's character did. He went to try and make it in the majors, and they thought he was going to be this number one draft pick and he was going to be so great and everything, and then he just kind of fizzled out. He did not live up to the expectations. He was not that great. So he ended up being, a scout instead. And then he worked his way up to being a general manager. And I love his character because he's like this straight shooting, pretty raw, just tells you how it is right to your face type guy, which made for a real interesting character to watch in the movie. In one scene, Brad Pitt asked Jonah Hill to come in his office. He's like, okay, I asked you to do a breakdown of 3 players. He's like looking at this big stack of papers. He's like, how many players did you do? Jonah Hill's like, 47. He's like, just kidding. I did 51. I don't know why I lied just then. Just stuff like that. Just really interesting dialogue. Kept the movie really engaging. Yeah, I liked it so much. Like I said, at the end, I really did not want this to be over. I wanted to just see the story continue on. And I like the way that it had real life baseball players in it, like Raul Ibanez and stuff like that. I mean, all the players in there were legit players. They didn't make up anybody for this movie. Everybody was real. People like Raul Ibanez, which is so crazy because back years and years and years ago, when I worked at this collections call center, I actually called Raul Ibanez one time because he was late on one of his credit card payments. I was like, I think I called him like Paul Ibanez or something like that because I wasn't even like paying attention. Like, yeah, Paul, I'm sorry, Raul Ibanez. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, that sounds really familiar. Raul Ibanez. And, super nice guy. I could tell I was talking to a young guy. And he's like, oh man, he's like, I'm at the hotel right now. He's like, my manager said, don't ever give people information over the phone. So he's like, I'm gonna have to call you back with the information. Because I was like in this collections department that called people that had just missed their first payment, like due to an oversight. Like they probably just forgot that month to pay their bill. And that's what he says. He's like, he just forgot. Awesome credit. He had everything. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm up in Seattle or something at the hotel. And we got this like 3-day break, whatever he said. And I'm thinking, is this the guy from the Royals? Because this is back when I lived in Kansas City and he played for the Royals at the time. And I had heard of him. I'm like, is this the guy that plays for the Royals? I don't know. It sounds like it. So I start like cross-referencing all his information. And I'm looking at the Major League Baseball schedule. And sure enough, they were on like the All-Star weekend break. Because he said he was on like a 3-day break. Somewhere wherever he said he was at the time, like up in Seattle at the hotel, that's where the Royals were playing their last game before the break, was like up in Seattle. So I was like, dude, that was him. That was him. And he talked about his manager, telling him not to give his information over the phone. I was like, wow, dude, like that was totally Raul Ibanez. How cool was that? Unfortunately, I didn't get the payment from him because he wouldn't give me the information over the phone, but I still talked to him. But anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Hope you enjoyed it. And until the next one, y'all, peace.